This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's newscast on Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. Industrial sites or zones in Guyana fall under the Ministry of Responsibility for Industry and Commerce, but the Wales Estate industrial site will not be overseen by this ministry. The Wales Estate has been proposed as the landing site for the natural gas from the Liza field operated by ExxonMobil. This was confirmed by Subject Minister Oneid Walter Nallycock. She said that the government is looking to set up 2 new industrial zones this year and is looking to establish at least 2 or 3 in each region, and named Wales Estate as a proposed industrial site. That should be industrial zone. The minister was at the time unable to provide a precise breakdown of the proposed industrial zones to be established. In other news, the United States Justice Department, EPA, and the state of Illinois today agreed to an amendment to the 2005 Clean Air Act consent decree signed with ExxonMobil to resolve violations at its petroleum refinery in Joliet. Under the new agreement, it requires ExxonMobil to clean up its act and pay penalties for its past violations. Under the consent decree amendment, ExxonMobil will pay $1.5 million in penalties, $1 million in the federal government, and $428,823 to the state of Illinois. The amendment also includes an estimated $10 million of improvements to reduce air emissions from the facility. And moving on, for more than 2 decades, locals have always sat at the helm of GTT, a subsidiary of US-based Atlantic Telenetworks Inc., or ATN. That status quo changed today after ATN announced that Damian Blackburn, a veteran in the telecommunications sector, as ATN described him, would take over from Justin Ned as GTT's new CEO. This move by ATN would come at a time where the country has placed the spotlight on the need for companies to increase local content by allowing Guyanese to serve in leadership positions. In other news, the COVID-19 pandemic devastated economies of scale across the world this past year, and while Guyana's non-oil economy declined by a negative 7.3%, local brewery giant Demerara Distillers Limited, or DDL, has seen its business increasing by some 10%, with a group turnover of some $24.7 billion. The company in 2019 had seen an annual turnover of $22.83 billion, representing an increase in business by some $2.3 billion for 2020. This is according to DDL chairman Komal Samaru. In fact, profits from the DDL group in the year was reported at $5.2 billion last year, when compared to the company's performance in 2019, which had seen profits netting some $4.5 billion. According to Samaru, this represents an increase of some $662 million in profits over the previous year by 14.5%. And moving on, ever since Guyana discovered billions of barrels of oil back in 2015, there have been intense public debates over proposed local content policies and possible legislation. There has, however, been little focus on building domestic capacity in order for Guyanese to be able to engage the industry in a meaningful way or to prepare them to take on high-end jobs that will emerge over the coming years in the industry. This was opined by Associate Professor of Mathematics Dr. Terence Blackman. He was adamant that the administration must be in a position to say to the companies that it is presently training a core of Guyanese so that they can take on some of the front-end jobs for the management of this industry. Professor Blackman said that there needs to be a clear conversation on what are the jobs being prepared for the people, and proper infrastructure needs to be put in place. And now let's tell you, 15 months after it should have been completed, the construction of the $857 million Good Hope Secondary School on the east coast of Demerara remains incomplete because of quote-unquote challenges being faced by the contractor. The contractor for the construction of the school was awarded to BK International Incorporated in October of 2018, with work starting the same month. The deadline for completion was January 2020. On Sunday, we made contact with BK International's spokesperson, Adam Harris, who stated that the school was almost complete. However, as it relates to the ongoing challenges in the construction process, Harris said that he was unaware, but he would contact the chief engineer and query. It is understood that the contractor has since been ordered to complete the project by August 2021. And now let's tell you the Ministry of Labor is currently in the process of updating its human resources and other capacities in order to deal with issues related to the influx of Venezuelans, Brazilians, Chinese, and other expatriates. Key among these, according to Minister Joseph Hamilton, is the need for equal pay for equal work for both locals and foreigners. The minister said that the ministry is working to ensure that the laws of Guyana are utilized to ensure that employees are paid their fair share while working in the country, regardless of sector. And on that note, let's tell you that the Guyana Police Force yesterday issued a wanted bulletin for 33-year-old Kaieteur Joel Roberts of Lot 88 Epping and Ituni Streets, Bel Air Park, Georgetown. According to the police, Roberts is wanted for questioning in relation to operating a Ponzi scheme and falsely obtaining monies from several citizens between September 2020 and February 2021. Anyone with information that may lead to Roberts' arrest is asked to contact the police on telephone numbers 268-2298, 911 or the nearest police station. All information will be treated with the strictest confidence. And just before we wrap up tonight's newscast, let's head over to the page 7 of the Kaieteur News that is dedicated to being blunt. Taking the COVID vaccine is important. We will never argue against that. At the same time, it is no secret that the experience of other countries that started their vaccination campaign long before ours, the vaccine by itself is no silver bullet. Moreover, even if each eligible person takes the vaccine, it will not instantly solve our COVID problem. Precautionary measures must remain mandatory. Some developed countries, in addition to their vaccination campaign, have seen the need for a lockdown and have done so in a bid to arrest the spread of the virus. But given the pro-business stance of the PPPC, we do not expect a lockdown anytime soon. What we continue to see are attempts at controlling an already out-of-hand situation, evident by the average of 100 new cases per day and the likely death of 1 in every 40 positive cases. Bravo to the government for ramping up enforcement, but we pray that this would be enough to help save what remains of our declining population. This, it would seem, is the most our government is prepared to do for us. Kevin Smith, for Kaieteur Radio.
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio. Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
The time has now moved on to 19 hours 11 in Guyana. Coming up next is a short excerpt from the Glenn Lal Show, Tell It As It Is. Remember, the Glenn Lal Show is aired every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 19 hours 20 or 7:20 p.m.
If we don't get a renegotiation of these oil contracts,